Good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Saturday. We made it to the weekend. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that you and your families are safe in your part of the world. I'm so grateful that I get to have the global community that we formed here. But at the same time, it makes me concerned anytime I hear about things going on around the world. So I hope that all of you are safe out there. So today is Saturday. We're at the start of the weekend, or, some of you might be in the middle of the weekend on a Saturday night. But we're going to try to make it a good one. We're going to stay positive. We're going to stay encouraged. We're going to stay educated in terms of developing our data science knowledge and our data science community. So really looking forward to spending the next bit of time with you. For those of you that are new, welcome. You're not alone. We consistently get new people on the stream, so glad that you're here. We always start off with our global roll call. That's where we ask you to introduce yourself with your first name, your city, state, province, country. You don't have to tell us your name. That's not one of the requirements. But just a good way to start off the stream, keep everything professional, and just help us kind of know about each other. So please go ahead, start filling up my chat with some of those items, with those introductions. And sometimes I will give an opening note, other times I will not. It just depends. And then after that, I'm happy to take anybody's questions, right? You, the chat, set the agenda for the things that we discuss. I love coming in here and seeing the different questions that you guys come up with. And then we just kind of go from there. For today, I do have a couple of articles that I've also highlighted just in case, we want a couple more things to talk about. I have 3 articles that are ready to go for us to look at, so we might take a look at those too. But that's the plan for today. And then for tomorrow, for those of you that can come on Sundays, you are welcome to do that. On Sundays, we tend to do a longer tutorial series. We are in the middle of a tutorial on how to create a data science project from scratch from the very beginning. I'm basically walking you through how it's done in the real world as far as the process and methodology of data science. We had a fantastic session last week, so I hope to continue that this week. So please feel free to join us. Tends to be a little bit longer, but it's at the same time as this stream, always 1500 GMT. So whatever time you joined here, please join us tomorrow for a little bit more of a little bit of a longer instructional type of stream. But for today, we're just going to keep things fluid. We're going to keep things relaxed. We're going to see where the weekend takes us, because it is Saturday. I know some of you just want to relax and you're watching and you're like, oh, again with the data science. This guy never stopped talking about data science. But I'm just excited, right? I'm just passionate about data science, and I know that most of you are too. So we'll just see where the conversation takes us, right? All right, so already some introductions in the chat. Again, if you're just joining us, please let us know the city, state, province, country that you're from. Nice, easy way for you to participate and be part of the chat. So at the very top, Rex, my good friend Rex from chilly New York City. Good morning, everyone. Rex, I don't know how you're here every day. You're amazing. You're amazing, Rex. You and Leo are here just about every single day. Just amazing. Thanks so much for that, guys. Really appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. So Rex says from a chilly New York City, good morning. Yeah, I assume it is going to be cold in New York City. Probably be cold all throughout Thanksgiving. So for those of you that don't know, next week is a holiday week here in the US. It's going to be the primary holidays on Thursday, Thanksgiving. But there's a lot of travel that goes on. A lot of people that, will leave on a Wednesday, come back Sunday, come back Friday, whatever the case may be. I'm going to be spending some time with my parents. I spoke with my parents last night, kind of make final arrangements, but I'm going to go out there, spend some time with them. So that does mean that I'm going to have a little bit of a stream break coming up. I'm going to have a stream break for next week. I'll be back next Sunday for the tutorial. I'll still be on social media and still try to join the Discord, but yeah, big week for the US next week as far as the different holidays coming up. And it's a beautiful time to be in New York. Lots of people go to New York for this holiday because of, the parades and the shopping and family and things like that. So glad you're doing well out there, Rex. Starry Vibes, our friend Starry Vibe, you're back. So good to see you. Missed you for a couple days there. Hello, sir. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well, thank you. Hope the same for you. Hope that you and your family are safe. But yeah, I think things are going very well. Yesterday I did the stream with you guys. I did a lot of client work yesterday. I had a really positive client coaching call yesterday. So I'm doing well. Just looking forward to the day ahead today. Khalif says, good morning, Sir Dennis. Good morning, Khalif. How are you? Good to see you. I know you come often on Saturdays and Sundays, so I hope to see you tomorrow during the session. But hope you're doing well, Khalif. Denelson, our friend from LA, says, happy Saturday, Dennis. I hope you're doing well this morning. I am doing well. I'm doing very well. Slept a little weird, because the keto diet can sometimes screw with your sleeping, as far as the different electrolyte balances and things like that can kind of mess with your sleep cycle. So I'm experiencing a little bit of that. But otherwise, things are good. Things are good. I'm really looking forward to the time today with you guys. Really looking forward to the stream tomorrow because I think we had a great stream last week and tomorrow will be very similar to that. We're going to see where we take that. But yeah, doing well, Denelson. Hope the same for you. Leo, speaking of great moderators, there's Leo. Leo says, good morning, everyone. Hey, Leo, how are you? Hope you're doing well out there, also in New York City. Leo also says, yes, Rex is amazing. Yeah, but, really grateful for all the moderators. So again, guys, please give their channels a follow. Please support them too. They do this on a volunteer basis for me, so really appreciate their help. Osama, our good friend from Morocco, says, hello, sir. Hope everything is going well. Everything is going really well, Osama. How are things going for you? Hope things are good for you too. Let us know how things are going in Morocco. Is it cold? Is it hot? What's it like out there right now? I think you're in Satat is what you said. Rex says, thanks, Leo. You two are amazing. Wow, look at all this great love going on in the chat right now. I love it. Good way to start off the day, right? Spread some of that love around, guys. Sarvesh says, hello, Dennis. Sarvesh from Mumbai, India. Yeah, of course we remember you, Sarvesh. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Such a great supporter. Thanks so much for being here. Eunice, welcome. Eunice, we always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country. Pretty sure it's your first time. So glad you're here. Just let us know a little bit about you and we'll be happy to take your questions after that. Starry Vibes says, I was just busy with studying, so I couldn't attend. I apologize. Oh, guys, there's never a need for anyone to apologize. I just remember different people when they come and go. It's just my memory at work. But please don't apologize. Never a need to do that. But glad you're here. Welcome, and let us know if there's anything we can help you with. I know you told us you were taking a robotics course, I believe. So let us know how that's going if you'd like, but never a need for anybody to apologize with missing a couple days or whatnot. I feel kind of guilty for that because I would never want somebody to not come back because they're embarrassed or shy or I missed class. Right? This isn't class. This is us just hanging out with talking data science, right? Sunday feels a little bit more like a class, but that one people come and go because it's so long, right? But yeah, don't apologize. It's all good. Okay, so Osama is done. He's done with the introductions. He wants to get right down to it. So Osama says, sir, what is your opinion on giving AI the power to make decisions? Yeah, you know what? That's a good question for the chat. So if you guys want to start off, go ahead and start giving your opinions to Osama. We all have different views. I really appreciated yesterday's stream because I think yesterday we were getting a variety of different views. We don't always have to agree on everything, guys, right? The science is not always about everybody reaching the same consensus. So I love the different perspectives. So what's your perspective? Osama wants to know your opinion on giving AI the power to make decisions. What do you guys think? So Osama, I love the question. I love what you're thinking because, I know that we do have some business leaders, some people a little bit more advanced in our chat, right? Because I see that in all the messages I get. Is AI really powerful if you're not really allowing it to make decisions? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's where like the real power of AI is gonna like shine. And that's why I'm kind of excited and kind of pro AI agents, and some of the automation that we hear is kind of like, on the verge of happening. Some tools out there already kind of make it happen, or you could do it yourself with your own code, right? But I think that I'm for it. I'm for it, and I'm really excited about it. Now, having said that, when you say power to make decisions, that's a big scale, right? Like, what decisions are you asking of it? Are you asking it to optimize your meeting schedule for the week? Or are you asking it to drive a car, right? Are you asking it to write a legal paper for you, right? So not every decision is the same. So if you guys remember, I had previously posted about this survey that I ran about the public AI attitudes, right? Some people are comfortable with, say, like a customer service experience as an agent, but they're not quite there yet for a medical experience or a medical question, right? I can't remember the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but I think they said something like 75% of people are okay with taking customer service, speaking to a customer service AI agent. But that number dropped to less than 50% when it comes to medical stuff, right? So Osama, maybe you want to narrow it down to your industry. I can't remember what industry you work in. I can't remember if you told us that, or whatever you're comfortable sharing, right? But not all decisions are the same. So maybe that's a secondary question for the chat. Is there a level of decision making that you're comfortable with and then not uncomfortable with? Like, are you okay taking financial advice from some sort of AI agent, letting it make a decision for you? Or maybe you're okay with a health decision for you, but not your kids, right? Or maybe if you take care of your elderly parents or grandparents, are you comfortable with AI making decisions for them? Right? But you might be okay with it for yourself, right? Because it's kind of a little bit of a margin of error that's built in there, right? What do you guys think? Give Osama some feedback, because I think Osama is asking a good question. So again, the question in front of the chat is, what is your opinion on giving AI the power to make decisions? Okay, so Eunice, I see you over on Instagram. Thank you so much. Eunice, our new friend, says they are from Nairobi, Kenya. Nice. We get quite, we get a few viewers from Kenya. I'm not going to say a lot, but I do see Kenya in my analytics a bit. So welcome, Eunice. Glad you're here. If there's something we can help you with or something you want to participate in the chat, the question in front of the chat right now is, are you okay with AI making decisions, right? AI agents that make decisions, you okay with that? Let us know what you think. Yeah, so Leo says, I look at AI as a tool, not as an entity. So yes, I'm down to build or use a model that, once working effectively, can take decisions on its own, but we need to define some criteria. I think it depends on the field and with the risks involved. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Leo. So this is where we come back to type 1 and type 2 errors, right? So if you want to sound like the nerd in the room, you call them type 1 and type 2 errors, but you're really talking about false positives and false negatives, right? And that's, I want to loop us back to that, because to me, that's kind of like where you're applying your data scientist mind, right? You have to think about the errors that the algorithm is making or potential to make. And so to Leo's point here, it depends on the risks involved. And the best way to quantify those risks is to look at the false positives and the false negatives. Where can things go wrong? And what are the dangers and risks associated with each one of those errors? Right? So if you haven't taken a class on this before, it might be a little bit difficult to understand. But if you have taken a class on it, then you know that the classic example is that of somebody that's accused of a crime, right? So if that person is accused of a crime and they go in front of a judge, the ideal is to get to the truth, right? They either did the crime or they didn't do the crime, right? But if the judge has to make a ruling and they decide, and the judge basically is facing two potential mistakes, they can look at the person and say that they are free to go even though they committed the crime, right? So now you're making the mistake of putting somebody who committed a crime and putting them free on the street because the judge was wrong in that scenario. The other mistake is to take a person who really didn't do the crime and decide that they're guilty. So now the mistake is that you have a completely innocent person sitting in jail, right? So that's your classic example of your type 1 and type 2 errors, your false positives and your false negatives. So that's the kind of thinking that I think we'd have to apply to making those decisions with with the question that Osama has put in front of us, right? So again, the question in front of the chat is, are you okay with AI kind of making decisions on its own? Or another question is there a level where you are, I'm okay here, I'm okay with AI making decisions here, but I'm not okay over here, right? And I'm also reminded of the conversation we had previously about the article, and I think Leo gave us the article about self-flying airplanes. Clearly, some of people in the chat, they were okay with airplanes, but not okay with cars. And I include myself in that group. You guys know how I feel about automated cars, but I'm kind of okay with an automated plane, right? So you guys tell me, what do you guys think? All right, it's Anfan. It's Anfan says, I'm a data science graduate from Australia, Melbourne. I finished my studies 2 months ago, and I've been applying for jobs in 3 months, but unfortunately haven't gotten any results. Please help out. It's Zanfax. Okay, we'll call you Fax. Fax, I appreciate the introduction. Thank you for stepping out and letting us know a bit about you. Thank you so much. I hear Melbourne is beautiful, so I hope you're enjoying it out there. All right. So new graduate, finished 2 months ago, applying for jobs for 3 months. Okay. So Anfas. Okay, Anfas. Okay. Thank you so much, Anfas. So Anfas, you should be, the data scientist in you should be tracking two numbers, right? Because you're really not giving me a lot of information here. First number is resumes that you sent out, and is that resulting in callbacks or interviews for you, right? That's the first conversion number you want to track. The second number you want to track is, if you are getting interviews, are you getting second interviews? Are you moving along in the process, or is it just dying out at the first interview? So I want you to start keeping track of those, or if you have those, give me some more feedback on it. But is it your resume, or is it your interview skills, right? So let's start with that. You're also welcome to participate in the question that's in front of us, as far as the level of AI decision making. And the reason I'm asking you, I'm encouraging you to participate in that, is because being among other data scientists, participating in these conversations is going to help you in your skills, right? And in turn, that's going to help you in your interviews and whatnot. You're fresh out of school, so this is the time for you to go from academics to real world, and that's exactly what we teach here. We teach real world data science. So welcome. Feel free to participate with however you're comfortable. All right, so let me go back to some of the answers. Rex says, yes, I believe it depends on which industry and that industry's culture towards using tech and data to make decisions. Yeah, Rex, yeah. But it also depends on the risk of the decisions, right, Rex? Because some decisions are much more have a lot more implications than others, right? Like if you make a bad recommendation on Netflix to somebody, that's not harmful. But other decisions can be more harmful. So Osama says, giving artificial intelligence the power to make decisions is not something I am in favor of. Osama says, example, nuclear war. Okay, but Osama, I mean, you're talking about a very, very high stakes decision there, right? Like you're talking like the top level of things that you're going to turn over to AI, right? So Osama, what are you comfortable with then, Osama? Like there has to be some level of comfort, right? So Osama, let me ask you this. Are you comfortable with an AI agent that will make all of your food shopping decisions for you? Right? That's pretty far from nuclear war. That's just you, and there is now an AI agent that will optimize your shopping, your food shopping, your groceries based on your diet and your health. Like, are you okay with that? Or is that too much? Like where's your comfort level? Where's your comfort level? Right? Because nuclear war is kind of an extreme example, right? But you have to have a comfort level somewhere, right? So let us know, Osama. Starry Vibes says, it can be powerful, but it comes with risks. While AI can process vast amounts of data quickly and objectively, it lacks human judgment, ethics, and empathy. But that's a good thing sometimes though, right? That's a good thing. Starry Vibes, you're reminding me of a conversation I have a lot with my clients, particularly, and it's not even AI, it's machine learning, right? Think about a categorization algorithm, right? Like, let's say you have a multi-class categorization algorithm, and let's say it's NLP, and you're using it to take in different NLP messages and categorize them into a bunch of categories. Maybe something that relates to customer service or segmentation or something, right? What you describe is exactly why you would want to automate that process. Because there are some processes where you want something that's going to be objective and it's not going to have any human judgment or human variation. One day I feel this way, so I categorize like this. The next day I feel a different way and I categorize in a different way, right? That's not a good process. That's kind of why you would automate that process. And trust me, in business, there's plenty of things like that, where I'm gonna build an algorithm because I want the same exact decision made the same way every single time, right? So you kind of want something that lacks human judgment, right? The same thing's gonna apply to AI at some point. Not nuclear war, right? I think we can all agree that's an outlying example, right? But you kind of want things to be removed sometimes. So Starry Vibes, kind of like the same question to you. Like, what if I told you there's an AI agent that chooses all your food for you? Like, you kind of want the human judgment, right? You're kind of replacing your own judgment, because then you can't say, oh, I feel like eating a chocolate bar. The AI is going to tell you what to eat, right? So that's kind of a positive removal of human judgment, yeah? What do you think? And remember, guys, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with all of you. I'm just playing the other side, right? I'm just keeping the conversation going. But, I mean, processes that lack objectivity and lack human judgment, ethics, and empathy, that's what we're paid for, right? You just described like every categorization algorithm out there, right? Like a lot of machine learning algorithms do this, right? So, yeah, let me know, Starry Vibes. Let me know how, if there's a level where you're okay with that, right? Leo says, I would like to have as much automation possible and independent problem solving capabilities on my job as a DS, for example, but I don't want an AI with no supervision performing a heart surgery. Sure. I agree with that, Leo. So Leo, you've given us kind of like polarized examples, right? So I'm sure that there's other things besides heart surgery that you wouldn't be comfortable with, right? Like, like other types of surgeries or medical procedures or financial questions. So Leo, are you able to give us like the line, like a more defined line? Right? Like where is that, like that maybe line? Like maybe you could talk me into being comfortable with this, but I'm not. So so I gave the example about like, the diet, right? An AI that decides your food for you. What about an AI that decides your clothes for the day? Or what about an AI that decides, I don't know, your budget for the month, how much you can spend, like some sort of financial decision, right? Like, is there a line there? Like, because you've given us like the bookends of your comfort, but where's like the center? That I'd love to find that out from you, Leo. Leo says, as DS professionals, we should avoid looking at AI tool as entities. Even with the advent of AGI, it doesn't mean we're going to have a living or conscious entity walking around. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's still going to be software based, Leo. Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a while before it's actually like some sort of physical form, for sure. Denelson says, I agree with giving AI more power in making decisions, but as someone who is always skeptical, I would like to know how the AI came to a decision. I want the reasoning and explanation. Ah, okay. Denelson, I like the different dimension you're adding here, and you guys know I'm also naturally skeptic. I can be, very pessimistic by nature, so I can understand this, Denelson. But Denelson, what if you're in a process where the decisions come quickly, like a self-driving car, right? An AI car, autonomous vehicle, doesn't always tell you why it's turning right or why it's braking suddenly or whatever, right? As a matter of fact, yesterday, I posted an article from a writer from the Times UK who took their first ride in LA in a Waymo taxi. And he talked about how there was a situation where the car brakes suddenly, all of a sudden in the middle of the street. So he had to sit there and guess like why it stopped, right? Obviously the algorithm detected something, but it's not going to tell you in the moment, right? And his best guess was that it was like a school bus that was off to the right or something. But not all algorithms are going to be able to explain it to you that quickly, Denelson. So how do you feel about that? Like, are you only going to work with slow algorithms or algorithms that only do like daily decisions as opposed to like instant decisions? What do you think? Leo says, it's just like the state-of-the-art AI model that can perfectly reason and solve problems in a creative way. Yeah. So, I don't know if there is an AI equivalent or an AI update to this. But in case you guys haven't read it, I know it's on my I know it's on my reading list. I'm not sure that I've done a good job of promoting it widely. But if you guys are interested in this, there's this concept out there known as the master algorithm. And there's a book out there called The Master Algorithm by Pedro Domingos. Highly recommended if you want to pick it up. It had a big influence on me. And so the master algorithm says, can you create algorithms that write algorithms? Right? Can there be a single master algorithm that writes all algorithms that humanity will ever need? Right? And that's basically kind of what you're describing, Leo, right? But can that be fully automated into a single AI agent? I don't know. I don't know if there's been discussion on that. There's plenty of discussion on the master algorithm because, by the way, I should have clarified. Master algorithm existed before AI, because it's a concept that comes from machine learning, right? Can you come up with a machine learning based algorithm that creates other machine learning algorithms, right? But I don't know if there's been similar discussion for the AI side of that, like AI that can create other AI agents that can create other agents. I don't know. Could be interesting, right? Give me just a second, guys. I'm gonna try some modifications because I'm seeing my Instagram messages twice. I'm going to close and see if that removes the duplicate messages. So I'll see the next time somebody contributes on Instagram, but I think that's why I was getting duplicate messages. Okay, so speaking of Instagram, welcome Star Eyes Penguin. I see you. Thank you so much for coming back. Really good to see you. So Star Eyes Penguin, it sounds like you're keeping up with the chat. Cool. So I'll get you. I'll get your answer in a little bit here. Osama, Anfis, I see your follow-ups. I'm gonna come back to it. Let me stay with this AI thread for right now. Osama says I am comfortable with that. Okay, so Osama's okay with the diet selections, right? So Osama, same question I asked Leo. Can you further define like the middle line? Like where is that border where you're comfortable and then uncomfortable? Like where does it start to get a little weird for you? Right? Like you're okay with it choosing your food, but what about your clothes? What about your finances? What about your medical care? What about like your pets? Like, are you comfortable with AI taking care of your pets? Right? Like, what do you guys think? Right? Like, there's got to be a border somewhere, right? Denelson says, having AI that decides what I eat and what I should buy when grocery shopping for my diet with a dollar limit would be great. Okay, cool. So obviously, guys, I'm not trying to pull you about, your diet, but I'm just trying to get a better sense of where that line is, right? Because we've been really good at defining the bookends, right? No one wants nuclear war, and we're okay with like food decisions, right? But where's that middle line? Where does it start to get a little like, ooh, I'm okay here, but not over there? Let me know. Rex says, I'm okay with a black box as long as the results are useful. Not all needs explainability. Not everything needs explainability. Not sure if I'm using the right term. No, explainability is the right term, Rex. Yeah, explainability. If you want to sound like a proper data scientist, you talk about explainability. Here's the thing, Rex. If you don't have explainability, you don't know why you went wrong. So sticking with the diet example, if you had this AI that was a black box that just told you buy this, and eat this, but you still gained weight, how would you feel about that? Like, is that a win? Maybe not, right? It's an error in the model, but are errors helpful if you can't explain them? Right? So explainability is kind of important for it, not for peace of mind, like maybe Denelson meant, right? Because Denelson said, "Hey, I'm skeptic. I want to know why." That's you using explainability for your peace of mind, and nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just saying. But Rex, explainability can also be helpful for the mistakes. How can you undo a mistake if you don't know where it went wrong? Right? So what do you think? Starry Vibes says, I agree with you. AI truly excels when it comes to tasks involving clear rules, patterns, and large amounts of data. Yeah, absolutely. So Starry Vibes, again, same question to you. Where's your comfort level? Where is AI okay for you, and then where is it not okay for you? So Star Ice Penguin, welcome back, says, I don't want AI to enter my daily life outside of work and business. I'd rather keep basic decisions for myself. Oh, look at that. Okay, I appreciate this perspective. Because now it's not about the task, it's about that part of your life. I get it, right? That's the Star-Eyed Penguin. If I'm misinterpreting there, let me know. But you're drawing a line between the portion of your life that's involved. So you're okay using it in the office, business, but everything else, let me pick my own food, let me pick my own clothes, let me do my own finances. I like that. I like that. That's a very unique perspective. Keep basic decisions for myself. That's interesting. So, I've heard this thing about how you guys know how a lot of the people like in Silicon Valley, like they're known for wearing the same clothes over and over again, right? Like Steve Jobs always wore jeans, the New Balance, and the black turtleneck. Zuckerberg always wears a t-shirt and a hoodie, right? So if you read the interviews with them, they talk about how they don't want to think about what they wear. Like they have a closet full of the same things, so you can just reach into the closet, put something on, and it's you, right? Part of me does understand that because I do have like repeats of the same clothes. Like I have a lot of tracksuits, I have a lot of t-shirts that are just like this, right? So I use that as an example, Penguin, because some people might welcome being told what to do in their daily life. Some people might say like, hey, I don't want to wear the same things over again, but I don't want to think about what I have to wear, so just tell me. So I think there's two sides to the example, but I do appreciate that you're breaking it out by the area of your life rather than the level of risk, because that's kind of what we've been focused on so far. So I appreciate that. Khalif says it depends on the context. Not all scenarios is AI the best decision. Yep, that's true. That's true, Khalif. Now, Khalif, are you open to the possibility that some of these AI algorithms will improve quite a bit too, though, right? Like in theory, our comfort level should change over time. Like, we talked earlier this week about how, personally for me, in the 2 years that I've been using ChatGPT, I've seen an improvement in their code generation engine. I am 10 times more comfortable today accepting code from ChatGPT than I was when I first used it. So, Khalif, are you open to that perspective changing over time? Because I think it will, right? The AI agents will improve just as much as the underlying LLMs and other generative tools improve. So are you open to that? What do you think? So Leo says, yes, I compared the extremes. I would be all right having an AI diagnosis on a specific health condition or even suggesting a treatment for it. Oh, okay. Okay. So Leo, you're willing to draw the line at surgery, but you're okay with like medical advice, right? Is that what you're saying? So you're okay with the advice, but just, don't touch me, right? Or don't operate on me. Okay, I like that. I like how you're further defining where that line is. So what do you guys think? Does that apply to most people? I think some people would be uncomfortable just with the advice alone, right? Like, I'd rather talk to a human for that. I think I'd include myself in that category. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that, or for an AI agent to help me medically. So what do you guys think? Hazel Streams 23. Hey, welcome. Hazel, we usually ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country, and then we're happy to help you, okay? Leo says, same on FSD. There's so many ways we could integrate AI, even in regular cars, that could prevent accidents, but I'm not okay on removing the steering wheel. Okay. So that means that you would be okay in most FSD now? Because I think, the Tesla, what is it? The Tesla cab has said that they will not have a steering wheel. But I don't think there's anybody deployed now who has removed the steering wheel, right? Waymo still has a steering wheel. Tesla FSD has a steering wheel. But yeah, so I don't think we're quite there with that there, Leo, but it sounds like you would be comfortable if they have a steering wheel. So you're okay like in a Waymo, because I'm not sure if I'm okay in a Waymo. Penguin says, it seems humans want to be told things. Everyone is so adamant about having freedom and free will, but will willingly allow AI to tell them to do things. Okay. Okay, Penguin. I hear you on that. So, Penguin, you're adding a very like a sociological aspect to this discussion, right? Like you're taking people's collective feelings into account, and I love that unique perspective, right? So yeah, I hear you on that. Rex says, I agree, explainability can also be quite helpful. It can, Rex, it can. Depends on the situation, but most of the times you want to know why it made a mistake. Because if not, then you can never fix it, right? There's no reinforcement learning if you can't explain the mistake, right? Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. You can do reinforcement learning without explainability. Leo says, I also support AI on public administration, especially budget control, taxes, social programs, but not on taking decisions on defense departments. Ah, okay, okay. So you're okay on budget decisions, but in certain categories, not all categories. I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you only want the agent to do 80% of the work, right? Who says you have to use the agent for 100% of the work? For whatever task you have in mind, right? I can get on board with that. Okay, so Osama is trying to further define if the AI decision doesn't have a significant impact on my financial or health life, I'm okay with it. All right. So financial and health is your line. So Osama, if you have like a customer service issue, like, you know, you need to return something at a store or something like that. You need to book a flight. So you'd be okay with an AI agent that would do that for you. No human involved. It's all just an AI agent making the decisions. So you're okay with that, like, you know, your travel, a little bit of your customer service or like business side, but not the financial or health life. I think that's a reasonable way to look at it. Leo says, imagine we could predict who's likely to apply for social benefits or who's likely to stop with them. If we could predict who's going to lose their job or pay less or more taxes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that'd be a really interesting usage, Leo. I hear you on that. So Penguin is asking for clarification, like telling AI I need a new shirt and the AI buys it, or I need to cook a steak meal and AI buys the ingredients. Yeah, like both of those examples. Or AI does the shopping for you and just tells you what to eat or what to wear, right? Like they would buy all the shirts for you, all your pants, and you would just say, "Okay, I'm ready to get dressed," and then it gives you the outfit to wear for the day. Right? No decision. The AI made the decision for you. Let me think. Let me know what you think about that, Penguin. Khalif says, yes, of course, sir. They already improving significantly. I am embracing it as well. Okay. But Khalif, as you can clearly see from the chat, the level of embracement is definitely all over the place, right? Some people are comfortable, some people are not. Some people are only comfortable in certain life situations or life phases than not, right? Or, you know, nobody has really said like how they feel about like AI handling their pets or their children or their parents, you know, like their elderly parents or their grandparents. What about that? Starry Vibes says, for example, when it comes to ethics, like raising children, I acknowledge that I am very biased at this point. Okay, so that's a line for you. You wouldn't want AI to be giving you like child advice. That's okay, right? That's a healthy thing to do, right? I don't know if bias is the right word there. It's just a preference, right? It's just your own personal preference that you want, you want to be the final decision or the only decision in raising kids. Nothing wrong with that, right? Kind of talking about Penguin's previous point where they would draw a personal line of when they would want to use an AI agent or not. Similar thing there. So Hazel Stream is giving the introduction. I live in the US and I do artwork, basically game artwork, but I'm more interested to know about game development. Okay, Hazel, well, welcome. Glad you're here. On my channel, we mostly talk about data science and AI. So, we're happy to help you with those types of questions. Certainly a lot of AI that's affecting graphic development and, art development in general. So welcome. Thank you for introducing yourself and stay as long as you'd like. Leo says, no, I'm not okay with FSDs at all. Okay. Okay, so I apologize, Leo. That means I misunderstood your previous statement. I just scrolled up to read your previous statement on it. So I misunderstood you. Apologies for that. So Denelson says, when it comes to the medical field, I am with having AI as my advisor for treatment. However, when there is a sensitive surgery where precision is critical, I would want it as a guide for the doctor. Okay. I think that's already happening. I don't know if the guides are AI, because I think some of the guides are very prescriptive, and then the doctor follows. But then if there's a deviation or an emergency or something, I think the doctor takes over from there. But I'm pretty sure the first part of that is already happening, Denelson. Okay, so Osama says, I agree with Leo. Just give me a medical suggestion. Don't touch me. Yeah. I think most people would say that, right? I think most people I think it's fair to say that that's where most people's comfort level is right now, right? Because I agree with that, right? I mean, I'm okay taking the advice, I would still double check it, but I would double check a human's advice, right? Like anytime I'm given a prescription, I always look up the prescription first, right? Like I never take somebody's prescription just because they said it, right? So yeah, Osama, I appreciate that view. I think that's probably the prevailing view. Sarvesh says, if there are tasks that I have performed earlier which involves a set up pattern of decision making and could be packaged into a framework, then I'd be happy to hand over the task to AI. Okay. So Sarvesh, the challenge with that is that you provided a perfect description of machine learning. I don't think you need AI for that exactly, right? Because that's actually the decision I give, the definition I give to my clients about machine learning. What is machine learning? Machine learning is teaching an algorithm a task that a human already does. That's the most basic definition for machine learning that I have. So if you're saying I have a task with a set pattern and a set pattern for that decision making, and it can be a framework, then, again, I'm just being, the other side here. I would tell you, well, you can do that with machine learning. You could be doing that now, right? You can be doing that with AI. You don't need AI to do that. So Sarvesh, it sounds like you could just be saying that you're more comfortable with machine learning, but not comfortable with AI. And that's okay, right? Nothing wrong with that. But not everything in the world has a set pattern, right? That's why we need AI. Not everything in the world has a framework, right? I mean, coming back to FSD and all that, that's kind of the problem with FSD, right? Like there is no set pattern or single framework for driving a car. It changes at all times, right? So, I suppose you could have a set pattern. The set pattern is don't crash, right? But that's not a great way to fix things, right? So Sarvesh, let me know how you feel about that. But to me, you're describing machine learning, right? Is that patterns and framework? You can teach a lot of algorithms to do that. What do you think? Penguin says, I do hate shopping, so I might take back what I said. Oh, come on, Penguin, don't do that. Penguin, when you've gotten like street cred for coming up with a good breakout, a different perspective, you gotta let it sit. You gotta let that sit. You walk away. You go out on top, baby. You don't come back and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm okay with that. No, don't do that. You already won. You don't take 2 victory laps. You take 1 victory lap, Penguin. All right, but again, I appreciated Penguin's earlier division about business and work is okay, but not my personal life. But Penguin, it sounds like we could still sell you on the algorithm that lets you choose the clothes, right? So I don't know, Penguin. You go out on top. You go out on top. Don't come back, man. Good perspective though. Denelson says, what about AI in education? Deciding what a student must be learning and how it outlined the lessons and practice sessions. Yeah, what about that? What about that? So are you guys comfortable with that? Some of you mentioned children, so if you guys want to, give Denelson some feedback here, how do you guys feel about that? In an earlier stream, we talked about I gave you guys the example, what happened in Chicago, right? Chicago, unfortunately, has a lot of gun violence. And obviously, it affects a lot of young people. And they came up with an algorithm that could take 13-year-olds and predict how likely they were to die before reaching 21. And the whole point was to create that algorithm and then run data through it, people's current data, and then start approaching these 13-year-olds and sit down with them and their parents and say, hey, we think you're not on a great path. Our data says you're unlikely to see your 21st birthday, right? That was the whole point of the algorithm. So on paper, that sounds like a great use of machine learning, AI. In this case, it was a neural network. But those researchers and the city of Chicago ended up being sued. They ended up being sued for, I believe it was a combination of using the data and, and the parents, were obviously outraged, right? We live in an outrage culture. So Denelson, your algorithm sounds great. I think that's a great use of an agent, but not every parent's going to be happy with that, right? There could be some consequences from that. What do you think about that? Right? Maybe some parents say, I don't care what the algorithm says. My child's gonna do X, Y, and Z. What do you think, Denelson? Starry Vibes says, I meant to say AI is still very biased at this point. Oh, okay. I thought you meant that you were biased. Okay. AI is still very biased at this point. And Starry Vibes, that was in your reference to like raising children, right? Which kind of correlates to what Denelson just said. I'm sorry. Where was their previous statements? I thought I just saw. Okay, I acknowledge that AI is very biased at this point. Okay, so Starry Vibes, how do you feel about Denelson's suggestion? What if it's not about raising children, just about the classes they take? Like AI will decide like who's in advanced math, who's in regular math, who's in the slow math, right? I was in the slow math. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that? Star Ice Penguin. See, Penguin, this is why you come to these streams, for the real life lessons, right? I don't just teach you guys data science. I teach you guys real life. You go out on top. You made a great comment. You let it sit. You back away. Like I've told you guys on streams before, right? One of the classic lessons in sales is that when the client says yes, when you got the sale, you say thank you and you get out of the room, right? Like you already got the yes. Why would you? Why don't ruin it, right? So Penguin, you had a good comment. You just sit back and enjoy the glory. No, not 2 victory laps, just 1 victory lap, okay? If Dennelson meant like must learn a complementary subject to optimize whatever they chose, then yes. If it's to define what someone should do with their lives, no. Oh, okay. 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 What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? So Leo is saying yes to the education, yes to helping my children, but only in this way, not that way. I like that. I like that. Oh gosh, RC Sim says like George Costanza, leave on a high note. See, but no, Costanza would never leave on a high note, right? Costanza would be like the exact person who would ruin it and not leave on a high note, right? But I love the reference there, RC Sim, and very much a Costanza thing to to ruin it, right? So I hear you, RC Sim. Welcome. Hope you're well. Let's see, where was I? So Leo says, but can we develop something functional having zero bias? But what is zero bias though, right? What is zero bias, Leo? If you present a result from an algorithm and 2 people disagree with it, they may disagree with it. Excuse me. I meant to say if 2 people disagree about the result, right? The algorithm tells you X. One person says, yes, I agree with X. The other person says, no, I completely disagree with that. Couldn't you argue that those people are expressing their bias? That doesn't mean that the algorithm is biased, right? It's almost like an eye of the beholder thing, right? Because if the algorithm tells you X and you say, great, that's great, isn't that confirmation bias, right? You're like, we're all looking for somebody to tell us, yeah, that's a good idea, go for it. So, like, how do you know you've reached zero? I'm not sure if it's possible, Leo, right? Yes, Dennis, that's why you're Elon's state-of-the-art model. You're great. No, I think Elon would take 2 laps, right? Elon's whole life is a victory lap, right? It's you know what one of my favorite quotes in life is? It's from The Sopranos. We're talking about Costanza, so maybe you guys also watch The Sopranos. But there is a fantastic quote in The Sopranos where the older soprano, right? Corrado Soprano, Uncle Junior, right? Is talking to Tony. And he says, you know what the problem in the world is? Some people are so far behind, they think they're leading, right? So that's Elon, right? Elon would just keep on taking victory laps. I'm ahead, right? So Elon would tell Penguin to just keep on running the victory laps, right? And so yeah, if anything, I'm going against Elon's training when I say that, Leo. At least I think so, right? I mean, like I've told you guys before, Elon's great at having those hype events and getting the news attention, right? So I think he's on a continual victory lap. Rex says salesmanship is not easy to learn, at least for me. It's really not, Rex, and I'm not claiming to put myself out there as an expert in it, but I know enough that when I get what I want, like I stop talking, right? Like, because it's not just salesmanship. Like if I need resources from somebody or anything really, right? Like they said yes, what else do you want? Like stop, right? So, but I hear you, Rex. It's not easy. It's not easy. RC Sim says, did you see the episode where he left meetings after making everyone laugh? Oh, is that what you're referring to? Okay, okay. Um, yeah, Costanza has some great work ones. My favorite work one for him. Oh, did you see the one where he's working for the Yankees? So, just some of you are outside the U.S., so you might not know this. It's a show called Seinfeld. It was a very popular sitcom in the It ended in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Actually, no, I take it back. It was all 90s. It never made it to 2000s. And one of the characters was George Costanza, and he always had trouble with women, trouble with work, and all that. But he ended up landing a job with the New York Yankees. And one of my favorite episodes, and I still use this with my clients just to make them laugh, because he had figured out that if you walk around looking angry or looking frustrated, people assume that you're busy. So the whole episode was him just walking around saying, "Oh my God, they did it again. I'm so mad." And just like walking off, really fast. And then all the coworkers would be like, "Oh wow, George is really busy today." So I always thought that was hilarious that he just as long as you walk around your office just upset, like, "Oh, I can't believe it." And then just walk away, people think, "Oh wow, he's doing really well." Leo says, yes, having no bias. I'm asking as a point to the idea of AI is now biased to something. It is. Yeah. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say, though, is that there could be bias is not a single thing, right? Like I said, it's like the eye of the beholder thing. It requires you to be able to take the answer the algorithm gives you and just do it, right? You don't even think about it. You just accept it wholesale. You just go with it. But yes, that is assuming that there is no bias in the algorithm, and that's not always a good assumption, right? Especially as we've talked about, where some of these companies are now doing their own licensing deals on the data that they ingest, right? Like, I'm not a fan of scraping. I really acknowledge for you guys, to not do data scraping. It's intellectually dishonest. But the upside of it is that you are getting different voices and different perspectives. You lose that when you take a licensing deal, and now you're biased to whatever that source is, right? Starry Vibes says, an algorithm cannot be entirely unbiased as it often favors certain groups, and some people may not perceive it as biased. Yep. Yeah. Confirmation bias, right? You're only going to call it bias if it doesn't favor you, right? So yeah, I hear you on that, Starry Vibes. I think I'm also not comfortable with the education field. Okay. So even just educating your child, you're not comfortable with. Okay, Starry Vibes. So here's the thing: to both Starry Vibes and Leo, you could also argue that bias is a function of the data available and the time, right? Like the reinforcement learning and the time and the different life cycles you've applied to an algorithm. So we're still in early days when it comes to LLMs and Gen AI and all that, right? Are you open to the fact that maybe, like, in the near future, let's just say the next 3 to 5 years, maybe less, there could be a claim of somebody out there saying, hey, we're completely unbiased. Maybe somebody could claim that, right? I don't know. Like, it's going to improve over time. I'm assuming that the level of bias would also improve over time. But again, eye of the beholder. Confirmation bias will still exist, right? Get Gopher, I see you over on Twitch. Thank you. We always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country, okay? Rex says, correct me if I'm wrong, but AI agents do make decisions, right? Yes, that would be the intent, right? That's the difference between like what we have now versus an AI agent. That it would be autonomous in that way. That's right, Rex. RC Sim says, if there is bias in data given to the algorithm, it could become biased. It is an example of garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But RCSIM, that smooths out though, right? The more data, the more time that you introduce, it smooths out, right? So isn't there the potential where bias would become less of a concern? Maybe not eliminated, but a lot less of a concern. If I ask you to train on 100 articles, NLP articles, that's going to be biased. But if I ask you to train on 5 million NLP articles, wouldn't that have like a smoothing out effect on that bias? Or at least on the probability of generating bias, right? I mean, surely the bias would drop at some point, right? Or the probability of bias drops, right? RC Sim says it would smooth out assuming the bias of the data is eliminated eventually. Maybe the same bias is continuing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you only go to the same sources, sure. When I said time, I should have been clear. I was assuming that there'd be more sources or more things that come to the surface or to the forefront that would smooth out that bias, right? But yeah. But if you go back to the same well, then yeah, sure, you're right. It'll keep the same bias. Leo says, yes, but back to Starry Vibes, we would want that bias at some studies in order to highlight maybe some social issue or even cause discomfort, leading us to look at that issue. Yeah. But not everybody's happy is going to be happy with that though, Leo, right? Because I'm assuming that in that process, there would have to be some winners and some losers, right? Not every child can take advanced mathematics, right? And you're going to have to tell a parent that they can't do it because the algorithm said so. That's not going to make everybody happy, right? So I don't know. So Starry Vibes might be onto something to say, well, then just don't do it at all, right? Just leave it out of my kid's education. Maybe that's the fair way to do it for everybody, right? Either that or you'd have to incentivize for using it, right? Starry Vibe says, I believe that an algorithm can never be truly unbiased, especially when it comes to education and principles. It will always be biased towards one group and not another. Okay. I think I can get on board with that. But not all algorithms are deciding between groups of people, right? Like, you may not like what the algorithm tells you, but that doesn't mean it's biased, right? Like, coming back to the food example, just because you don't like that it tells you to eat spinach tonight doesn't mean that the algorithm is wrong. You may not like it, but doesn't mean the algorithm is wrong, right? So it's not always just groups. It can be other things, right? Starry Vibes. So I'm having trouble thinking about the different examples, but it's not always, you win, this group wins, this group loses, right? It can be there's a lot of other things where AI agents are just gonna be making decisions that don't hurt anyone, but you're still not gonna like them. RC Sim says, ideally via bias, you're just very aware of it. Ideally via RC Sims, recognizing the bias eliminates most of the harm of it. Okay. But can an algorithm itself recognize bias? Because remember, we're talking about an autonomous agent here, right? When it comes to most things, we, the data scientists, play that role, right? Why do you do EDA? Because if you don't account for outliers and missing data, that can cause bias in your model, right? That's kind of why you do that. So would AI be doing that in your scenario, RC How do you make AI potentially aware of bias? I mean, I suppose you could have the AI itself do your EDA and make corrections along the way and your removal of outliers and all that, right? But we do that, right? We as the people who select the data do that. RC Sim says maybe that's just a problem for humans to solve. Sure, that's possible too, right? Maybe that's the human role. We've talked about humans being the creativity side of data science. So maybe that is one, right? Another role is for us to provide the cleanest, most unbiased data set possible, right? Algorithms are going to show the truth. How we handle that is different discussion and maybe groundbreaking social discovery. Sure, Leo. I agree with that. What happens when you have an uprising because a certain group didn't like what the algorithm said? Kind of coming back to Starry Vibes point, right? That what if there is like a bias towards a group and then that group doesn't like it? Yeah, that would be an interesting social groundbreaking, right? I hear you on that, Leo. Okay, I expected that you have an introduction. Get Gopher says, expected that you have an introduction channel in DC. Hi, I'm a DevOps engineer in heavy industry, Upper Austria. Linz, Austria, and a big fan of cloud native stuff, Kubernetes, Argo, Golang, obviously. Great, welcome. Thank you so much for the introduction, Gopher. So on my channel, we mostly discuss data science, AI, Gen AI, machine learning, things along those lines. So happy to have you here. If there's something we can help you with as far as data science goes, please let us know. So lots of interesting discussion today. Lots of interesting discussion. Something that we haven't really brought up is that you're concerned about our overall topic has been about AI, the agents, and we've talked a lot about bias, right? But here's the thing. Bias already exists in other stuff we use, like machine learning, right? I'm not an expert in recommendation algorithms. I know enough to be dangerous, but I know that they get a lot more complex than my knowledge of them. And I remember that I was reading this article, and I'm mentioning it because maybe some of you in the chat are more knowledgeable than I am, and I welcome your input on this. But it was talking about this concept about recommendation algorithms, about how they're, it kind of takes a little bit of a forest approach. And there can be so many forests that you can intentionally cut down the forest and only show certain parts of the possible recommendations as your sample set, and then base your recommendations from the algorithm on that. And the underlying theory is that the person receiving the information never knows what they're missing out on, right? You as the consumer never know that you only saw that the recommendations were only made from a part of the tree. The recommendations may still be good, right? It's still going to match, your taste, your preferences, your geographic location, but there's still that error of omission where it never looked at the other portions, but that's okay because you, the consumer, don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're missing out on, right? So that's a form of bias too, right? Like there might be content, Netflix, YouTube, whatever, that you're not exposed to because it wasn't even part of the consideration for your recommendation algorithm. So those types of biases are already out there. We just don't always realize them, or we don't realize them in such an overt way. So if one of you knows a little bit more about that, I'm welcome into your comments. But bias is already around us. You may not be getting every single possible YouTube recommendation. You're only getting like a slice of it, but you'd never know, right? Or like, if any of you have traveled to a foreign country with your YouTube account, you get a whole different type of recommendations out there. Like, when I would go to like Morocco, you would get a bunch of like different like Arabic influencers, right? That you would never see in any other section. Now, that's more about geography, locations, and things like that. But there's obviously decisions being made about what part of the tree you're creating the recommendations on, right? At the geography level, the language level, things along those lines. So all of that to say that, we are very concerned about bias in AI. We've had a lot of that discussion, but we're experiencing that now. You may just not always realize it, right? Or some algorithms, I'm trying to think about like your Gmail spam algorithm, right? Because a spam algorithm is your most basic binary classification algorithm, right? It's either spam or it's not. Is that biased? Maybe. I mean, it has to be, because it still makes mistakes, right? It's mass email marketers or mass spammers. They always find a way to, like, they find the loopholes in the algorithm, right? They're using bias to their benefit, right? So what about that? So lots of things to think about there. But I'm really glad that we had this discussion. I'm really glad that there was a lot of open debate about what parts you feel comfortable with. I think a lot of you are making some really interesting suggestions as far as the different parts of life that you're willing to use it, the different consequences that it could bring, right? I mean, I think Leo's right about, there's more of a sociology aspect to it than we've recognized so far, right? Are different groups going to be hurt in the future? Maybe not, right? So who knows? And you know what? This all came from, shout out to Osama, who started the initial question about the AI agents. So shout out to you, Osama, for coming up with the question. I think it's led to a lot of really good discussion. So tomorrow, Sunday, same time, 1500 GMT. We're going to do more modeling tomorrow. I anticipate a lot of code tomorrow. So if you enjoyed last week's session, this one's going to be similar. And we're going to be, it's similar, but just focusing on a different model, focusing on the lazy loader, so on and so forth, right? So really looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I know a lot of you enjoy the Sunday sessions. I enjoy them too. Gosh, I can't talk today. So I'm ending the stream at a perfect time. So again, thank you all for the great discussion. And as always, lots of craziness happening in our world. So please take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll see you next time.